before you blame aging for the way your body feels. Try this. Think about the last time you climbed a flight of stairs, stood up from a low chair, or caught yourself before losing your balance. Now ask yourself one question. What if one small muscle has been quietly deciding how well you perform every one of those movements? Most people spend years trying to build stronger arms, a flatter stomach, or bigger legs. But almost no one thinks about the muscles that quietly keep the body stable every time we move. And that's where things become interesting. Researchers have found that some of the strongest predictors of healthy aging aren't always the muscles you can easily see in a mirror. Instead, they often involve the smaller muscles responsible for balance, stability, and controlled movement. These muscles rarely demand attention until they begin losing strength. The surprising part is that this change doesn't usually happen overnight. Long before people notice pain or serious weakness, the body often starts making tiny adjustments. Your posture changes. Your walking pattern becomes slightly different. Your balance becomes a little less reliable. These changes are so subtle that most people never realize they're happening. That's why movement experts don't just look at how much weight someone can lift. They also pay close attention to how the body moves. Because sometimes one overlooked muscle can reveal far more about your long-term health than the biggest muscles ever could. So which muscle is it? And why are scientists paying so much attention to it? The answer may completely change the way you think about aging. The muscle we're talking about isn't the biggest. In fact, most people have never consciously trained it. Yet, every step you take depends on it. Unlike the large muscles that generate force, this one works quietly in the background. Its job isn't to impress anyone. It's to keep your body stable, efficient, and under control. Every time you walk, climb stairs, change direction, or recover from a slight loss of balance, it activates almost instantly. When it's strong, you rarely notice it. When it begins to weaken, your body doesn't immediately stop working. It compensates. You may lean a little farther than before. Your stride may become shorter. One leg may start doing slightly more work than the other. You might avoid certain movements without realizing why. These adjustments are often so subtle that they feel completely normal. That's exactly why researchers have become increasingly interested in movement quality, not just muscle size. Studies consistently show that maintaining strength, balance, and coordination is closely linked to preserving mobility and independence as people grow older. It's not simply about having stronger muscles. It's about having the right muscles working together at the right time. And that's where this overlooked muscle becomes surprisingly important. It acts like a quiet stabilizer, helping every movement feel smooth, controlled, and efficient. When it begins losing strength, the body often sends small warning signs long before obvious limitations appear. So what is this forgotten muscle? And why do many experts believe it may reveal more about healthy aging than most people ever imagine? That's where the science gets truly fascinating. So, which muscle have we been talking about? It's called the gluteus medius. Most people have heard of the glutes, but almost all the attention goes to the larger muscles that help generate power. The gluteus medius is different. Sitting along the side of your hip, its primary job isn't to make you stronger. It's to keep your pelvis stable every time one foot leaves the ground. And that happens far more often than you might think. Every single step briefly places your entire body weight on one leg. During that moment, the gluteus medius works to prevent your pelvis from dropping and helps keep your spine, hips, and knees aligned. It's a small action that repeats thousands of times every day without asking for your attention. Here's the surprising part. Research has shown that weakness in this muscle can influence the way the entire body moves. Instead of remaining stable, the body may begin compensating through the lower back, knees, or even the opposite leg. At first, these adjustments are almost invisible. You continue walking, climbing stairs, and performing daily activities without realizing your movement has quietly changed. That's why movement specialists rarely judge health by muscle size alone. They focus on movement quality. Because when one stabilizing muscle becomes less effective, the body often recruits other muscles to do a job they were never designed to perform. Those compensations can work for a while, but they usually come at a cost. So how can you tell if this forgotten muscle is quietly becoming weaker before obvious symptoms appear? That's exactly what we'll uncover next. So, how do you know if your gluteus medius is doing its job? The answer isn't found in the gym. It's often revealed during the simplest movements you perform every day. Watch someone walk from across the room. Watch them stand on one leg while putting on a shoe. Watch them climb a staircase. These ordinary movements place surprisingly high demands on the gluteus medius, even though most people never realize it's working. When a muscle is functioning well, your pelvis stays relatively level, your body remains balanced, and each step feels smooth and controlled. But when it begins to lose strength, your body quietly starts finding shortcuts. You may shift your weight from side to side. One hip may drop slightly with each step. Your upper body may lean over the standing leg to reduce the workload. These compensations often develop so gradually that they feel completely natural, even though they're changing the way your body moves. This is one reason physical therapists pay close attention to movement patterns rather than relying on strength alone. A person may have strong legs overall, yet still demonstrate poor hip stability during walking or balance tasks. It's not just about how much strength you have, it's about how well that strength is being used. The encouraging news is that these movement patterns are often modifiable. The body has an impressive ability to adapt when it's given the right kind of training. But before talking about exercises, there's one question that deserves an answer first. Why does this muscle become weaker in the first place, even in people who stay physically active? So why does this forgotten muscle become weaker in the first place? The answer may surprise you. For many people, it isn't age. It's repetition. Modern life asks our bodies to do one thing exceptionally well: sit. Whether you're driving, working at a desk, watching television, or scrolling through your phone, hours can pass with very little demand placed on the muscles that stabilize your hips. Over time, the body naturally becomes more efficient at the positions and movements it performs most often. That's an important principle of human physiology. Your body adapts to what you repeatedly ask it to do. If you regularly challenge your balance, coordination, and hip stability, those systems tend to stay active. But if they spend most of the day doing very little, they may gradually lose efficiency. Not because they're permanently damaged, but because they're no longer being challenged in the same way. This doesn't only affect people who are inactive. Even individuals who exercise several times a week can develop weak hip stabilizers if their workouts emphasize large, powerful muscles while overlooking the smaller muscles responsible for controlling movement. That's why someone can appear fit, lift impressive weights, and still struggle with balance, single leg stability, or smooth walking mechanics. The body isn't simply measuring how strong you are. It's measuring how well every muscle works together. And that's exactly why many rehabilitation specialists focus on movement quality before increasing strength. But if sitting isn't the whole story, what are the everyday warning signs that this muscle may already be losing efficiency without you realizing it? The challenge is that the earliest warning signs are rarely dramatic. They often appear as small changes that are easy to dismiss. Perhaps you find yourself shifting your weight onto one leg while standing. Maybe climbing stairs feels slightly less comfortable than it used to. You may notice that standing on one leg while putting on your shoes feels less stable, or that your balance disappears more quickly than it once did. Individually, none of these changes proves that the gluteus medius is weak. But together, they can tell an important story. Movement specialists often look for patterns rather than isolated symptoms. That's because the body rarely changes one muscle at a time. When a stabilizing muscle becomes less efficient, other muscles begin compensating automatically. The brain's priority isn't perfect movement. It's simply keeping you moving. And for a while, those compensations work remarkably well. The problem is that compensation isn't the same as restoration. As the body continues relying on alternative movement strategies, unnecessary stress may gradually be placed on the hips, knees, or lower back. That's one reason experts emphasize identifying movement changes early, before they become deeply ingrained habits. The encouraging news is that movement patterns are not fixed. The nervous system remains adaptable throughout life. With appropriate exercise, balance training, and progressive strengthening, many people can improve coordination, stability, and confidence in everyday movement. The goal isn't to create the strongest muscles in the room. It's to build a body where every muscle performs the job it was designed to do. So how can you begin strengthening this overlooked muscle safely and effectively? That's exactly where we'll finish. So, how do you keep this forgotten muscle strong? The answer isn't spending hours in the gym. It's making sure your body regularly performs the movements it was designed to do. The gluteus medius becomes stronger not simply by producing force, but by repeatedly stabilizing your body during real-life movement. That's why many rehabilitation and sports medicine programs include exercises that challenge balance, single leg control, and hip stability rather than focusing only on heavy resistance. Simple activities like standing on one leg, controlled sidestepping with resistance bands, lateral step downs, and properly performed side-lying leg raises are commonly used to activate this muscle. The goal isn't to perform dozens of repetitions as quickly as possible. It's to move with control. Quality matters far more than quantity. As your nervous system repeatedly practices stable movement, communication between your brain and muscles becomes more efficient. Over time, those improvements can translate into smoother walking, better balance, and greater confidence during everyday activities. But consistency is what makes the difference. A single workout won't transform the way your body moves. Just as weakness develops gradually, better movement is built gradually through regular practice. Small improvements repeated week after week often produce far greater long-term results than occasional intense workouts. The real objective isn't building the biggest hip muscles. It's preserving the movement quality that allows you to stay active, independent, and confident throughout life. Because when your body moves well, almost every daily activity becomes easier. And that leads to one final question. How can you tell if your efforts are actually improving the way your body moves? So, how do you know if your gluteus medius is getting stronger? The answer isn't found in the mirror. It's found in the way your body moves. One day, you may notice that climbing stairs feels easier. Standing on one leg while getting dressed becomes more stable. Long walks leave you feeling less fatigued. You recover your balance more naturally after stepping on an uneven surface. These may seem like small improvements, but they reflect something much more important than muscle size. They reflect better movement. Healthy aging isn't about avoiding every physical change that comes with time. It's about preserving the strength, stability, and coordination that allow you to keep doing the things you enjoy for as long as possible. That's why one overlooked muscle deserves far more attention than it usually receives. The gluteus medius isn't trying to make you faster or stronger than everyone else. It's working quietly to keep every step stable, every turn controlled, and every movement efficient. The better it performs its job, the less your body has to rely on unnecessary compensation. So before your next walk, climb up a few stairs or simply stand on one leg for a few seconds. Pay attention to how your body feels, not to judge yourself, but to better understand how well it's working. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever tried balancing on one leg for 30 seconds? Were you surprised by the result? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story could encourage someone else to start paying attention to their movement today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.